Thinking about it.
Is thinking about it. All right. We are on.
Hey.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm Michelle Fontaine, and we are so excited to have Jeff Shelton, who is the owner and CEO of Wholesale Warranties, with us for a conversation this hour.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. We love having you on, Jeff. So we're going to be talking about something that all RVers think about at some point: extended warranties, and they're also known as service contracts, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's be honest. Jeff is in a business that nobody really wants to think about, right? And justifiably, there are reasons why people feel this way. For years, the reputation of extended warranty companies was shady, to say the least. But that's one of the reasons Jeff got into this business. And we're going to hear his story in just a little bit. Mm-hmm. Wholesale Warranties is one of those companies that has raised the bar for excellence and customer service. Insurance of any kind is about finding the right fit, not underselling or overselling, the right fit for the customer. And secondly, you want to make sure you're working with a solid company. Now, Wholesale Warranties is one of, if not the best in the industry. And don't take my word for it. You can check the Google ratings. They're A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Their customer service testimonials. Wholesale Warranties is the real deal. Now, Jeff, you're not really a warranty company. You're more the broker or agent. Can you explain to our audience what that means and how that's changed the game?
Well, for me, I think the part that I like about that position most is because we're not the warranty company, like we work with several different companies out there, and we have a very, very exhausting vetting process in order to do business with any one particular company. So when I talk to a customer and I'm recommending a particular program or a particular company, level of coverage, I'm recommending it because that's what I would get if I was in their situation. And I think it takes us about out of the role of being partial or impartial. It creates us as being an impartial person, just recommends it based on that's the best coverage for the person. And one of the reasons also that I think that we decided not to jump through all the hoops of being our own warranty company and handling the claims ourselves is because typically especially with the RV business, it can be seasonal. When you're dealing like July, right after the holidays, the amount of calls and the amount of claims that come through is so strenuous. It could really, a small company. We're a decent size. We're over 20 employees, but that's not many people when it's July 7th and everybody's calling in their claims from after the 4th of July weekend.
Jeff, explain why you are more of a specialist than an RV dealer can be, how you can offer.
Yeah, and the great thing about what I enjoy about what we do is this is all we do is the extended warranties, not just warranties, but specifically for the RV market. So we know, like, one of the things that people ask me all the time is like, there's there's what's written on the policy, and there's obviously how they interpret the policy. You get a lot of questions. What happens if X, Y, Z? And you really don't know until you have thousands and thousands of claims experiences under your belt with any one particular company. So we know not only that we have a long relationship with the companies that we offer, but before we even signed up with them to begin with, we know the reputation in the industry. Obviously I work with setting up the dealerships, when I started this company. So I know all the dealerships out there, their claims experiences with the various companies, what exactly they do cover, what they don't cover, and if there is a gray area, how they interpret the policy. And, the thing that we also focus in on is making sure that we offer the right coverage level for any particular person, because the contracts are pretty different. You can get different levels of coverage, and it's really talking to the particular person that's buying the RV, what's understanding how long they're going to keep it, their risk tolerance, what they're really looking for. Do they not have to worry about it anymore, or do they want to basically just get catastrophic, engine type of coverage and things like that?
So your company develops the relationships.
Yeah, and absolutely.
Right?
We work directly with, when we set up our relationships with the warranty company, we want to make sure that we have direct access to the actual claims manager. Because one of the things that I think is always, interesting about when you talked about the challenge of, the reputation with the warranty company is a lot of times you have the warranty company speaking with the repair facility, and nobody really does a really good job of communicating with the customer. So making sure that the warranty company and the repair facility are in good communication and communicating exactly what's going on with, with their claim. And, it's interesting too, because if things don't, the worst thing that I think could happen is a lot of times it's like a claim is paid, everything gets handled, but because, there's a little uncertainty from the customer standpoint. It's, like they bought this policy to have that peace of mind. And when something breaks, you want to be able to have that peace of mind and have that certainty, like, oh, I know it's covered under the warranty, and making sure that they, that there's no doubt about what is and isn't covered on, let's say 98% of it. 2%, I'm sure there's always a little bit of gray area where
Let me interrupt you, Jeff. I know you've got tons of great stuff to tell us. We've got a question here, and I just want to speak to the audience about this question. So first of all, Tom O'Sullivan wonders if this conversation is going to be taped and archived. Let me put that concern to rest. Absolutely, we will. This is being taped. I did hit the go live button. And it will be archived on our website, Tom. And Tom is also asking, so Wholesale Warranties is a consultant advisor agency. Would you describe that? Would you describe that as correct, Jeff?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, that's absolutely.
All right, good. Now, one more thing before we continue. Please ask your comments, your suggestions in the comment area. And there's obviously we want to answer your questions, but there's another important reason. At the end of this hour, our executive producer, who's hiding in the wings somewhere, is going to be choosing 3 winners. Wholesale Warranty is offering a roadside assistance or tire wheel plan. That's the grand prize. And we're also giving away 2 of these Go Power battery packs, which are so much fun. This is an 8-watt solar panel, and it's also a flashlight, an SOS, and a emergency. It's got lights. So we're giving away 2 of these at the end, and you have to be on at the end to confirm that you won. So having said that, let's ask Tom again. Oh, let me just share this. Tom, we work as a broker to give customer access to options. And that brings up another good point. Stacy Ritchie Roman is in the background answering questions as well. So if we don't get to it, who is the lady hosting this? Karen Nelson, is that Me, you're talking about? Who is the lady hosting this? Hi, Karen. I'm Michelle Fontaine of RVing Today TV, and I am hosting this show. Nice to meet you. If you have any questions, put them in the comments so we can get them answered. Okay. I don't see any specific questions, Jeff. So why don't we start with what's covered by an RV warranty?
Good question.
Describe the different levels of coverage, and let me put this slide up.
Yeah. So
nope, that's not it. Levels of coverage. Here we go.
Yeah. So I will say I can speak a little bit generally to start out, and then go a little bit more specific. So there's different levels of coverage with any extended warranty program out there. Typically, I'd say about 70% of the policies that we sell are a comprehensive type of package and are called an exclusionary policy. So that's an exclusionary policy is typically your highest level of coverage. So the way that that's written, it basically says, hey, here's some examples of what's covered in your RV. Everything on your RV is going to be covered except for these items. So you just have to read that part. This is not covered. Mm-hmm. And to speak in general terms, what the warranty, I call it warranty. It's actually technically a service contract. I can go into that later. But what the warranty really covers is all the, it's designed to cover all the mechanical working components of the RV. So if we're talking about like a motorhome, you've got engine, powertrain, drive axle, suspension, steering, heating, air conditioning, microwave, stoves, refrigerators. I mean, if you kind of peel back the layers, there's a lot of mechanical working, moving components within the RV. That's really what it's designed to cover. And when you take a look at the exclusions, some common items, the things that aren't covered that I always like to, stress to people the importance of understanding. For the most part, it's going to be pretty obvious type of things. I think most people have a pretty good understanding that it's not going to cover your oil changes, belts, filters, things that would be considered maintenance type of items. And then, like paint, upholstery, I put this category as the cosmetic type of stuff. Like got a little rip in my chair. That happens over time. Chair still works. Paint, carpeting and things like that. But the other thing I also like to remind people as well is things that would normally be covered under collision insurance, like physical damage type of items. That's what's not covered. Like if you get into an accident and something gets smashed, those are typically under your collision insurance. This is for all the mechanical items in your RV. And for the most part, most exclusionary policies do cover like the majority of all of those items. And I always stress, look at your policy. It depends on what policy. Sometimes there's exclusions that other policies don't have. But so that's the more comprehensive. And then you go to a listed.
Now, let me just say that I have an exclusionary policy with you guys, Wholesale Warranties. And I chose it because I'm a single woman camper and I am not a do-it-yourselfer kind of person, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted and I have a travel trailer. I don't have a motorhome. So that's, the price I got was based on what I have. So I feel like I got the best service contract fit to me. So I feel good about what I got from you guys. And it was a very reasonable price too for 6 or 7 years.
Oh, great. Yeah. I think also I personally like them too because it's easier to understand, easier to explain. Because sometimes you'll have like the listed component. You're going like, okay, you're kind of looking at everything going, I think it's all there. Am I missing anything? But the other thing is like listed components can save you a little bit of money as well. But those, even with the comprehensive listed programs, typically a listed component coverage, the higher levels of them, they cover what's normal for an RV. Like probably not going to cover your jacuzzi if you have a jacuzzi, because that's, but it covers the normal items that's normally associated with an RV on the more comprehensive programs. And then we also offer what I consider catastrophic coverage, which are the ones that are like, if you're a little bit more, comfortable with a little bit of risk on your own, you can just get those, engine and powertrain and chassis warranties that cover, like, if you have a engine failure, we pay $35,000, $40,000 to replace people's engines. Fairly regular. It happens. And that's the ones where it's like, no matter where you are financially, that really, really hurt.
Here you go. These are the high priced, most common claims.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to exclusionary, if my awning gets torn up, you're not going to cover the awning, but you're going to cover the motor.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of the distinction is, like your awning is covered, because actually awnings break a lot. And I like that example because it gives you a good, what isn't covered. Awning, those a lot of times the motors will fail. It's a mechanical working component, goes in and out. Sometimes it doesn't go in. Sometimes it doesn't go out. Absolutely covered by the warranty. If your fabric, like when I got my RV, I think it was 7 or 8 years old at the time, the fabric started to sag and, like water started to pit there, and it needs to be replaced. So I had to replace that. That was not covered under the warranty. Also, a lot of things, the other thing that comes up every now and again is, those awnings get caught in a storm, get ripped off your RV. Now that's because that's physical damage that would be covered under your collision insurance. So a lot of times just explaining, that was storm damage. Like, what happened? Well, it ripped out of the, I was like, was there a storm last night? Yeah.
Right. That's a good point. At one of the stops that I stayed at last year, there was a Winnebago, and his roof was ripped off, and it was all duct taped on. And I kept in touch with the guy, and their insurance took care of it because it was an accident. The roof blew off going across the bridge. So
wow.
Right. It was pretty hairy.
Yeah.
So in continuing talking about your coverage, now, when you have somebody like a Jeff Johnston, who works for Roll 9 TV, is very, very, very capable, or a Mark Polk of RV Education 101, who is, again, very, very capable of doing it yourself kind of things, what coverage would work for them?
Yeah, I think, most of the time when I talk to people that say, well, I'm pretty handy and mechanical themselves. Mm-hmm. One thing I always ask them is kind of like, what kind of things would you repair and would you not repair? And kind of, for the most part, a lot of times people talk about like, I replaced the cabinets, I redid all the wallpaper, put in new ripped out the carpeting, put in tile, and those type of things. Like, yeah, absolutely great. A lot of people are really good at those type of things. Not really a warranty related type of thing. If if you have a slide out that gets stuck out, most of the time you're not going to have the tools for that, and you need to get inside there and get the motor. Like if you have to put your RV up on lifts, like a lot of the mechanical things that fail that are covered under warranty, for the most part, most of them, the majority of really handy people don't typically work on. But if they do and they want to do all their own stuff, like typically what I would recommend for them is maybe a more scaled down type of coverage, where just get the catastrophic stuff. Like even engine mechanics don't always work on their own engine because they're specific to a certain type of, they just don't have the tools, or, like, I don't know anybody that could replace an engine, or transmission and do things like that. That's very 0.001% of the population. So just a lot of that has to do with understanding exactly what you work on and your risk tolerance and what what you're wanting to get covered.
Here's a burning question.
Mm-hmm.
In this crazy busy RV service world right now, it's really hard to get your RV service in a timely manner. So I know you've got great relationships with mobile techs. So tell us how that process works, Jeff.
Yeah, and mobile techs are becoming a huge part of the business, mainly because, as RVers know, your RV never really breaks down in a convenient time. And a lot of times when it does break down, you're at a campground. So just being able to be home and just meeting somebody at your RV and having them come out is really important. Any program that we recommend is going to allow for mobile mechanics. It's one thing that we stress, to understand and take a look at any warranty policy, make sure that they allow for mobile mechanics. The other thing too, that's really great that we want to make sure that like when they go out there, really the claims process doesn't change a whole lot, whether or not whether you have a warranty or not. What they'll do is they'll do the typical things like every repair facility does is they'll figure out what's wrong. They'll kind of come up with the solution, diagnose it. Oh, we need to replace this. It's going to be about this many hours. This is the part cost. Here's your total. Do you want to proceed with it? Thumbs up if they do, and thumbs down if they don't. The only extra portion that's with the warranty is they just call into the warranty company and get a thumbs up. Say yes, we'll cover that. By the way, those filters, if you're replacing those aren't covered under the policy. So of this, this is what we'll pay. This is what the customer is responsible for. Here's the deductible and the filter charge, or if there's anything that's not covered.
So is all of that a pretty fast process, Jeff?
Yeah. As I always say, is like with most of the companies that we have stats on, it's over 90% of the claims get adjusted on the very first phone call. So most of the time, it's just that one phone call. Mm-hmm. If you have an engine failure, need your engine replaced, sometimes they'll go, okay, well, do we need to replace it? We'll have an inspector come out just to double check to make sure that we can't, instead of $40,000, maybe we just need a new transmission. And, it's $10,000, $12,000 just to verify it when it comes up to the higher bills. But for the most part, it's typically going to be that one phone call over the phone. And then the other thing that we really pride ourselves on is if you're not sure where a claim's at, or maybe even you might think, hey, you know what? They only paid, $3,000 of a bill that was $4,000. There's a difference there. What's going on? What we do is, as experts, we work with the repair facility and the warranty company to make sure that you're in the know, to know exactly that what is covered, isn't covered, and making sure that you got everything that you should have had covered under the warranty policy. Mm-hmm. Every now and again, sometimes there'll be something that's covered under the policy that the repair facility forgot to report. So, they added on a little bit later. They didn't make the extra call and say, oh, you could have had that covered. Mm-hmm. Thank God. No, you should have this extra thing covered. They called that. They reported that as being
okay. So any licensed facility or licensed mobile tech.
Yep. Any licensed repair facility. And a lot of people ask what a license is. You can just think of it. If they have a tax ID number and that's what they're in business to do is repair RVs, they're good to go.
Cool. So let's see. Let's talk about, so we know you can't do your own repairs, but what about renovations? This goes into add-ons and things like that.
Add-ons. Yeah. Most of the renovations that we see, are typically have nothing, don't have a lot to do with the warranty, whether it be carpeting, extra paint, wallpaper and things like that. That doesn't void the warranty, obviously. What a lot of people ask about is, I think what you're referring to is, let's say you have an air conditioner, or I'll use another example. Sometimes you'll be wired for a washer and dryer that didn't come with the RV, and you add a washer and dryer at a later point. And I always go by the contract. What the contracts typically say, and this is worth looking at, is they're going to typically say, as long as it's professionally installed and manufacturer approved, no problem. So here's what they're excluding. They don't want you to install things that, weird things that would not normally go on an RV. So that's where they use the manufacturer approved. I like to translate that on as nothing, maybe like a weird jacuzzi on the top of your RV that could, just kind of thinking of it.
But if somebody took out the microwave that's in their RV and put in a convection microwave.
Yes. And that's a perfect example. Yep. It happens all the time. Normally goes with the RV. As long as they professionally install it, great. And also with the professionally installed, really what they're trying to prevent is somebody like myself who at times causes more damage than they actually fix. So, that's why they do insist on the professionally installed. And yeah, so as long as it's something that normally goes with the RV, and I always use the example of like, you can't put in a slide out if you're cutting a hole that's not supposed to be in your RV and putting a slide out. And it's I think maybe one or two in millions of dollars of claims. I've only seen it come across one or two times where somebody's done something crazy that wasn't covered under the warranty.
All right. Here's an excellent question by Jeff Johnston. Thank you, Jeff. Where does water damage come in here? If a wall or other component is seriously damaged by a leak, does your company investigate back to the source of the leak and make that source responsible? Or is the repair covered regardless? Good question, Jeff.
Great question. Yeah. So when it comes to water leaks, one thing I always kind of like to explain it is a water leak is a consequence of something happening to the RV. So in other words, what they're going to do is they're going to take a look at that water leak and say, hey, what caused that? And whatever caused that water leak, if that's covered, then it would be covered under the repairs. So for instance, if like what caused the water leak would be, let's say, a water pump or something like that. Yes, absolutely covered. If it's, let's say, weather stripping, where maybe it's corroded weather stripping, and that caused a little bit of a leak to come into there, weather stripping is considered a maintenance item and would not be covered.
Okay. I had a particular instance with my first RV. You were not involved with that one. And there was a leak that started. It was a lance, and they couldn't find it. And it turned out it was only when I was in forward motion and the wind was, and it was raining. And that's when it would come in a little pin spot.
Ah, okay.
So that would not have been covered. Is that what you're saying?
That would be my guess. If I'm ever going to make a guess, I'll be like, I always say this caveat. If I'm going to guess, I would rather be wrong and say it's not covered. And then you go make a claim and it is covered. But yeah, that'd be my guess would be no. Because typically going back to this is going to be mechanical failures. And most of the time from my experience, a lot of times it will be, weather stripping or maybe caulking that you need to kind of maybe try to go through it, and fix those little pin hair leaks. We see a lot of, obviously, with Class A RVs, you see a lot of like tree branches sometimes hit the roofs or, sometimes even hit the AC and, cause a separation between the AC and the roof. Yeah.
Okay. And if somebody installed their own solar system on the roof and junction boxes and all of that, would that be covered?
If you installed it yourself, I would say no, according to the policy. Again, I'm always going to go according to the policy. Typically, because they'll want it that professionally installed.
But some of them are meant for do-it-yourselfers.
Yep. And I think that's that's if it's a lot of times it's an accessory too. So it's, in other words, they want to make sure that it goes with the RV. Because sometimes I'll see some nice TV claims that you're like, was that with the RV or not? Was that your home? We brought it into the RV. And I would put solar panels as long as they'll cover solar panels with the exclusionary policy. They'll typically cover your solar panels. If you bought it with it and it's, a normal thing that comes from, or an option with the manufacturer, if it's manufacturer approved, the policy will typically say, will always say professionally installed on that.
Okay. All right. Speaking about, lots of people now have older RVs, right? And they're making modifications. So let's speak to this slide. Older RVs, can they get coverage?
Yes, actually, yep. We can do up to 20 model years old, actually. And, and believe it or not, I've actually extended. Before we could do motorhomes up to 20 model years old and towables 15 model years old. But now we can do 20 years on the towables as well, and certain makes and models on the majority of them. So part of the process is if you have an older RV, but you have no coverage right now, what we'll do is we'll have somebody come, or you're in the process of buying an older RV. What we'll do is we'll have somebody come out and inspect it, make sure that everything's in working order. Mm-hmm. And then once you get the clean bill of health, you can start coverage and we'll activate the policy.
All right. So is there a cost to the potential customer to do that? Have somebody come out, and how long does that take?
Well, it's included in the policy. So if you buy coverage from us, what we'll do is we'll include the inspection. In the rare circumstance that it doesn't pass inspection, what it is it's a $450 deposit that gets taken out of the warranty cost. But if you don't pass inspection and you don't go forward with the warranty, then it's the $450. Mm-hmm. And most of the time when we see people get charged the $450 that don't pass inspection, usually they're in the process of buying, and we just get extremely great reviews on people saying that that's the best $450 that they've ever spent. Probably ROI considering.
Right. No, that's true. That's like a home inspection. And these things are they're pretty valuable. So learning what's wrong with them if it is a good thing to know before you buy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as a consumer, we want to make sure that we get day one coverage, and that we have, like, when we drive off the lot, that everything's going to be covered, that they don't go say, that was there before. Or some places will have a waiting period where it's like, hey, you've got like 30 days and 1,000 miles. Well, in an RV, sometimes it could take a year or two to drive 1,000 miles if you don't, do a long trip. So, mm-hmm. And eliminating the doubt of whether or not something was there and that you can make a claim, early on is really reassuring for, I think, both parties involved.
Yes, and that brings up another question. But let's see. Jeff has got one here. Okay, here we go. Let me get rid of this. Yeah, check that question out. If a company installs an aftermarket handicap product, such as a wheelchair lift or larger door opening, in an RV that's covered by your company, are the new parts covered as well against damage, provided they're installed by a qualified dealer?
Yeah. So if you get it professionally installed and it's a handicapped, like we have wheelchair lifts. Yep. Mm-hmm. Under the exclusionary policy, and the one thing I always stress people, take a look at your policy, because some policies are different, but the majority, I'd say the most policies will either have that as covered or they won't have it as an exclusion. So in other words, like some policies obviously will have that as an exclusion. So I would say check your policy, but the exclusionary policies, yeah, a lot of times they will cover your handicapped product as long as it's professionally installed. The only caveat, just to cover my bases, is if it's manufacturer approved. I don't know if they change things. It's possible, according to the policy, be covered. And just as a caveat, when I say according to the policy, the reason I use that terminology is because
it's CYA. It's CYA.
Yeah, CYA. Sometimes they do cover it, and it's like, according to the policy, it shouldn't be. So that's the way I always like to answer my questions. Like, according to the policy, not covered. If you make the claim and it's covered, nobody's mad at. Nobody's that mad at you. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we do have exclusionary policies that will cover wheelchair lifts. So
if that were the policy that I have, it would be covered.
That's correct. Yep. As long as it's professionally installed, manufacturer approved, and a lot of times people sometimes ask, how do you know it's manufacturer approved? And I really actually haven't ran into that. I haven't seen them deny anything, but it's usually pretty obvious. It's like they don't recommend you cutting a hole in your wall, but wheelchair lifts are pretty common. So we do see that.
Good. All right, let's take this question. Does some coverage cover extra items like car rental or hotels or bad food in your fridge during emergency prolonged repair?
Yeah. So we have policy that's included in the program. You actually, like, if you're stuck on it, if your RV is being repaired and you have to stay somewhere because obviously that's where you're living in, they'll cover pet benefits, which is they'll let you put your dog somewhere, hotel rental, food reimbursement. There's towing coverage available as well. And so there's policies that we have a policy with it and we have a policy without it. And one of the things that I like to talk to customers about is understanding if they have a roadside assistant currently, a roadside assistance program. It might be more cost effective to keep the roadside assistance program and do the one without the hotel expenses and stuff like that, because maybe the price is slightly better to not have that coverage. Because for me, I always stress the importance of having some type of roadside assistance. That's the big need that I see in the industry that sometimes people forget about. Hotel expenses, food reimbursement, those are nice. Yeah, I downplay those a little bit. And I always kind of joke that, like, they sound, when it comes to practicality, they're nice. People really enjoy having 3, maybe even like 5.
But they're going to pay extra for all those perks. They're going to pay
nice.
That.
It's nice. I downplay it a little because it's like, that's, in the overall scheme of things, it's relatively minimal, but not the roadside assistance. You definitely need something there, because being stuck on the right side of the road and not knowing who to call, and those bills can add up quickly.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is so true. And since we're at the half hour, let me remind everybody that I'm Michelle Fontaine from RVing Today. This is Jeff Shelton, the owner and CEO of Wholesale Warranties. And at the end of this hour, if you've commented, you have to comment so we can see your name to choose you for a prize. So if you're just watching and I see the number of eyeballs here and I don't necessarily see the comments or suggestions or whatever, just say hi. So we can choose 3 winners at the end of this hour. And Jose Moni, our executive director, is going to be the one picking those names. And thank you to Wholesale Warranties, we're giving away a roadside assistance plan or a tire and wheel plan, up to the winner, and 2 8-watt portable power packs from Go Power. That's your reminder. So let's get some more questions coming in. All right, here's a follow-up. Let's jump right into this. Manufacturer approved for handicap gear might be a recommendation by the manufacturer when they don't supply the parts and they send you to a qualified service center for the modification. Yeah, that sounds like that would certainly cover that. Jeff, let's back up a little bit and tell us, why did you choose this industry to come into? What's your story?
Yeah, that takes me back. It's such, I knew when I was in kindergarten that I wanted to be in the warranty business. I'm teasing. Yeah, it seems like a very unique thing to get into, but my story kind of starts. I grew up near a marina. I worked, like, my family had a small marina. That was our business, and we did a lot of boating and camping. We had an RV growing up, so I wanted to be around this industry. And when I graduated college, I had the opportunity to go to dealerships. I was a finance major, so I got a job going to boat and RV dealerships and setting them up with their warranty programs. And, because I like to research things, I understood the policies, did a lot of the trainings on what it does cover, what it doesn't cover, how to do the product offering, how to make claims, everything involved in this business. And the thing that I realized is that, a lot of times when the dealerships sell their programs, they're not always looking for the best program for their customers. They're looking to what makes them the most money. And it's, there are dealerships that want to do the right thing, but there's a little bit of a conflict of interest because sometimes the best policies aren't always the cheapest, as we can understand. And a lot of times when I do trainings, they have a lot of other things that they're doing in that dealership. They don't always remember it. Sometimes they can mislead customers. And part of my job was actually being that person that customers talked to when things went wrong. And then when I had the opportunity, we started a small dealership as well. And I was able to sell directly to my friends. Actually, I got set up directly through the warranty companies, a couple that I used, and able to get my friends better coverage, better price, and kind of walked them through the whole process. And my dealership was way more expensive, like this is better coverage. I didn't know that, and word traveled by mouth, and and the thing that I love about the RV industry is really, it's like most of my business comes back from word of mouth, and people talk about these products online and at campfires, and
if you bought a car or you bought an RV, you spend hours and hours and hours in this dealership. You find the RV you want. You've done gazillion hours of research. You're into buying the RV mode. You finally find one. You sit down with the salesperson. You come to terms. This is exhausting. And then when you're all done that, they go, oh, now we're going to sell you an extended warranty. And to me, it's not fair. I personally know people who walked out with way too much coverage. And then this girl had 2 MBAs. She's not a stupid girl. And she woke up the next day doing, oh, what did I do? But you sat in that seat. So you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. And not only that, but they don't have as many offerings as you do.
Usually you just get a brochure too. You don't really understand the coverage. You don't have really the time or the patience to ask, hey, what do I need? Is like, hey, this is the best program. This, it's a pretty brief conversation.
And it's only an extra $20 a month for the next 25 years.
Yeah.
Right?
And if they roll it into the loan, it makes it feel like it's not as expensive as it is. But, you do $20, $30 over, 20 years, a month over 20 years, that can definitely add up. And, when you're online, when you're at home, you have all the time to do your research, read the policies, ask the questions, and we want to make sure that even if you heard about us through word of mouth and you really want to get set up when you believe in the policy, we actually want to make sure that you understand how to use it too when you go out there and you're driving around, because we don't want to have you wait till the last minute going, okay, wait a minute, I bought this thing, how do I use it? Do I use it after the fact? And we always say make sure you get that pre-authorization.
So Sally and John go out and buy an RV, brand new RV, day one. They know they've got a 1-year warranty on it automatically.
Yeah.
So they go, well, at the end of the year, then I'll contact Wholesale Warranty. Why should they not do that, Jeff?
Well, it typically just comes down to price. One of the things that, of the advantages of getting it while it's directly from the manufacturer is it's just a little bit less expensive than if you wait till that last year. And mainly the reason is because most of the time, when people wait till the manufacturer's warranty expires, typically there are a few issues with the RV. You're like, it's probably a good idea, to get that now, because, maybe there's some residual, issues with the RV at the end of the manufacturer's warranty. So the price goes up a little bit, but we do a lot of business when the warranty is about to expire as well. So, it's just personal preference.
Yeah.
Usually we kind of recommend if you're debating which one to do, I typically recommend doing it when you have full factory warranty, just because on a per year basis, it's going to be less expensive.
It almost evens out. So if you get 6 or 7 years, if you get 7 years because you've already got the manufacturer's warranty in place, it's almost like you're getting an extra year by doing it that way. So it really works out just fine.
Yeah, and one thing I always like to communicate too is like when I say a 7-year policy, if you have full factory warranty I use the term 7 years because this is an umbrella coverage. Your factory warranty takes precedence. So they go to a factory warranty. Really, this is maybe an additional 6 years. You have some coverage for the first year, maybe some of those roadside benefits or whatever. But I downplay that because it's mainly the factory warranty. But the reason that we use the term 7 years is you'll usually have a 1-year factory warranty. You might have 3 to 5 years if you have an engine. Maybe your generator has 2 years. So sometimes it goes a little bit granular into each component has a little bit of a warranty. So we just say it's all encompassing 7 years. They factor that into the price.
Right, exactly. So you're really not losing anything by getting it in place while you're still under the manufacturer's warranty.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
All right, what do we got here? Let's see. Oh, what's the difference between a roadside assistance package as opposed to a tire and wheel package? If you get a blowout while on the road, which policy covers that best?
Yeah, good question, actually. Typically what I'll recommend almost 100% of the time is your roadside assistance will get somebody out there, maybe tow you or replace, do whatever is necessary to get you in a place to get that permanently fixed. The tire and wheel policy will cover the cost of the tire. And also if there's rim damage, it covers the rim as well, as long as it's not just cosmetic scrapes. You know what I mean? A lot of times you can't, if it bends or something like that and it fails to seal, then you'll need your rim covered. So that will cover that cost. The roadside assistance will actually get the cost of getting you in a safe place. Typically the roadside assistance will give you a dollar figure the tire program will give you like I think it's $100 maybe towards the towing, but the towing package is, obviously most of them will cover either $1,000 or unlimited or, depending on your tire package. So it's always use the roadside assistance to get you off the road safe and taken care of.
When somebody has an issue that they feel their policy will cover, they're in a campground and their refrigerator conks out. Are they going to call Wholesale Warranties or are they going to call who's actually holding their policy?
Well, typically what we recommend is first, we can help them find a repair facility. So they'll want to contact a repair facility to come check out
would they call you versus calling the name on their warranty policy?
Yeah. And then the repair facility will call the warranty company.
I see. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then if there's any issues or something like that, where, sometimes the customer can call us to help out with any questions that they have on their claims. Sometimes the warranty company will even say, hey, by the way, there's this claim that came in, just want to give you a heads up and we'll kind of, if there's anything, that should be aware of, like, hey, there's a part delay. They're not available for, being shipped for a couple of weeks. This guy's gonna like the really kind of the bearer of, there's a lot of things that we have to be the bearer of bad news that are just out of our control. It's like we're dealing with a lot of part delays and stuff like that, and trying to get, hey, this engine's not going to be available for a little bit.
I think we're all beginning to feel that kind of supply chain pain at times, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about costs of some of these claims. So these are the top 5 most common RV claims. So if somebody's got a motorhome, they've got a Class A, and they bought it new, and they've got 6 or 7 year policy with you. Would that be normal?
Yeah, we can do it on a brand new. We can actually go 7 years. Sometimes, on a few exceptions, we can actually do 8 years.
Okay, so in those 8 years, what's the likelihood that they're going to be making a claim?
Oh, I've read some industry stats. You're putting me on the spot now. Because I know I've got stats. I'm like, I don't have them right up the top of my head. I think You stumped me,
Oh,
but I know there's stats because I don't want to miss it. But
okay.
like,
All right.
they have some good stats like average RV, but it is pretty. I mean, for the most part, I think what it kind of boils down to, it's like it's near certain that something's going to happen. It's just how expensive is it and how frequent is it going to happen? And it's kind of interesting because you look through, like we get, on a daily basis, we see the claims come up. And, we have access to their computer systems, and it's like 0, 0, 100, 100, 25,000, 5,000, like it's just.
Yeah,
It's
and of course it
very,
depends on how much they actually use their RV too. I wasn't even factoring in the, full timer versus
yeah.
weekender.
And interestingly enough, we've actually done a little bit of studies on like full timers versus, weekend warriors. Interestingly enough, I've heard this, but I didn't, it's different until you see the claims. But like people that don't use their RV a lot still have a lot of, like, there's not a whole lot of difference between the full timers and the infrequent RVers, just because I think what happens is a lot of times, like, it's actually good for your RV to be used, kind of like an exercise. It's I always kind of recommend people fire up their engine or their generator if they're from cold weather state like Minnesota, like I'm from, to kind of use that to get the things going a little bit.
Yeah, that is true about using your RV. I can't wait to start using mine again. All right, let's see. We have a question from Jeff here. Does your company have any policy or standards about the use of propane while on the road? As in, if a fire occurs, do you say it's not covered if the propane was in use for the fridge?
Yeah. See, I think what that probably more geared towards would be an insurance question, because typically when you're talking about fire, physical damage, storm damage, that I think never come across that, because we don't cover if it did have a fire. We'd say, oh, sorry, like that's a lot of our jobs. Like, oh, by the way, that's the insurance company that will take a look at the propane system, and wouldn't be the expert on that one, but that's probably the insurance question.
So here's a back to the beginning kind of question. Extended warranties, service contracts. Why do we say extended warranties when they are actually service contracts? When did that start happening?
Yeah, it's great question, because it's worth discussing. They are technically service contracts. I'm sort of dragged into the warranty terminology just because that's what everybody knows them as. It's actually technically incorrect. And the reason being is an extended warranty, it has to be an extension of the exact manufacturer's warranty. Anything outside of that is not technically a warranty, believe it or not. So our name of our company is Wholesale Warranties. We talk about warranties, and yes, it's not technically a warranty. And, like, there's that little bit of a disclaimer, if, like, we do understand that, but it's very difficult to,
it's just kind of morphed into a different meaning.
Yeah. So it's like, and I think everybody understands that we're not the manufacturer. So it's like, it's really a technical thing. I think that's it's the common word that everybody uses. So we kind of get dragged into that. Right. Service contract. That's correct.
Okay. So here's another good question. What is your most common claim when it comes to a towable or travel trailer or pull behind?
Pull behind. I would say typically I've seen the slide outs tend to have quite a few issues.
The slides.
And it's very close on several of them. So I think I'll have to probably revisit that one, but I think, we do a lot of this, the slide outs tend to be kind of a big major issue for us. Yeah, that's my guess. I think it's an educated guess, but I always wanted that, CYA thing. Yeah.
Stacy's in the background going, say the right answer, Jeff.
Yeah.
When did you start this business? How many years ago?
The original startings of this business was 2001. I went direct to consumer. I believe it was 2003 or 2004, somewhere in there. So pretty much right after college, I spent a couple years going into the dealerships, really kind of getting my feet wet in this industry. Went direct to consumer, 2003 or 4, I believe, and then really started doing this full time between 2007 and 2008, and really wanted to focus in on this because I just knew this was, oddly enough, it was what I enjoyed. Sometimes it doesn't sound like the most interesting business to be in, but I absolutely love it. I like being around RVers and kind of chatting about everything RV related, and being a hero and covering these repair bills because I've had some personal traumatic experiences from my own RVing and history that
Stacy's got your back here. Flat outs and leveling systems.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That's the most common. All right. So, what else? Oh, tell us about how many people do you have on your staff? Do they all work remote? How's your turnover? I mean, are people happy at your company?
I make them say yes.
I don't think so.
No. Yeah, we have 22 now. And most of them, we're here in San Diego. The majority of them are here in San Diego. I believe we have one in Texas, one in New York. But the majority of our staff is here in person. And I think it's really been helpful to, we've contemplated the remote working conditions, and we do a little bit of a hybrid model right now. But I think interestingly enough, it is a pretty complex business because, I always make the same comment. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and we have to deal with it.
Right. So most of the calls that come in to your staff are policyholders.
Yep. Most of the time, obviously there's people asking about, what is covered, isn't covered, getting educated before they buy, handling, claim issues, recommendations of service. That's what we're up in the problem solving business.
So somebody calls Wholesale Warranties and they get a person. They get a human being.
People like those.
Right? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's see. I just got Jose Monique. He just sent me the winners' names. We're like 3 minutes from the end of this hour. Wow. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add, Jeff, that we have not covered?
No, maybe I'll do a little bit of a plug if you want to get any information.
Yes,
you go to wholesalewarranties.com and give us a call. It's 800-939-2806. But we love working with RVers. This is what we specialize in. So if you just even want to get a quote to get an understanding of the likelihood of your RV breaking down.
So can they go to your website, put information in and get a quote, or is it actually a conversation?
They can get a quote on our site. We'll typically give you a call, obviously, to get a little bit more of a feel for it, but we should have everything that we need to get you a quote as well.
Perfect. All right. Well, let me just sneak over here to the private chat. All right. Now the winners have to confirm. So we have winner number 1 for the Roadside Assistance or Tire and Wheel Plan is Tom Sullivan. Ooh. Tom, just say, yay, I'm here. Confirm that you won. Winner number 2 for the first Go Power battery pack. And I just love this thing. Honestly, I take it with me hiking, You can give it to your kids when you go camping. They get their own power source. Is Norm Burgess. And the third one is Karen Nelson.
I'm gonna have to buy one now. Darn
What's that?
I'm gonna have to buy one now. I didn't win.
Yeah, they're the coolest things.
All
right, good, Stacy. All right. Okay. Norm Burgess. Norm Burgess? Yep, Norm Burgess. All right. Are you still on the line, Norm? No, yes, I am. I am here. So we just need to have a confirmation from Tom Sullivan, Norm Burgess, and Karen Nelson. Come on, we want to give these prizes away. Oh, okay. Norm Burgess. Norm Burgess gets one of the Go Powers. Okay, Norm, all of you, Tom Sullivan, Norm Burgess, Karen Nelson, please email me at michelle@rvingtoday.tv with your mailing information, and I will get your gifts to you. All right. Oh, Karen said, okay, cool. All right, so we got 2 out of 3. Who else are we waiting for? We got Karen and Norm. Tom Sullivan. Oh, who's that? Please give me the email again. No, okay. michelle@rvingtoday.tv. There we go. All right. Jeff, this has been such a pleasure. We have got to go camping together.
I would love that.
Yeah, you're out in San Diego.
Yep.
Right?
Good camping territory around here.
Yep. And we will be seeing you soon.
All right. Appreciate it.
I am going to. We're at 4:02. So this will be posted on our website, the video recording. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you, Stacy, in the audience answering the questions. And have a great night.
Thank you.